That's Senator Marco Rubio from Florida. How are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you, Sean? Thanks for having me.
You know, I'm looking at you four guys, and I know some people got mad at you over immigration. I'm over it. You four guys are the leading conservative voices on this. And without you, I'm not sure we would have had this vote today.
Well, I think it's a good time to remind everybody why it is that ObamaCare is so bad. It's not just because it's Barack Obama's idea or because the Democrats came up with it. Here's the bottom line. What is the one value that I think the American people are united behind, no matter who they voted for? And that is the idea that this is a country where people who work hard and sacrifice should be able to earn a better life for themselves and for their family. So we as policymakers and government, everything we do should make it easier for people to do that. And we certainly should not be doing things that make it harder for people to do that. That's what ObamaCare is doing. That's why I'm so passionate about this, because I'm irrespective now of I don't think it's a good idea to have government take over the healthcare system. But beyond that, I now have met and talked to so many real people who are being hurt by this. By the way, including people that voted for Barack Obama, who now have they used to be full-time workers somewhere, and now their hours were cut. And SeaWorld, a major employer here in Florida, just announced that it's moving all of its part-time workers from 32 hours to 28 hours. Anyone who works at Walgreens, they're now losing their existing health care coverage and being thrown into an exchange. It goes on and on and on. This is having a devastating impact on real people, and it is directly standing in the way of people's opportunity to have a better life. And that's at the essence, at the core of what this country is all about and should continue to be all about. So what are we supposed to do? Just stand here and say, well, too bad, this is the law of the land, deal with it? I'm not going to say that. I have to be able to go back and tell people I did everything I could to try to stop it. And I think this is just one more effort to try to do that, and I hope for a successful one.
You know, I think one of the main things that is happening here, and it's very interesting to watch this dynamic, it seems that those that have made these arguments over a long period of time, I think they're beginning to believe their own talking points at this point, but the House Republicans are listening to the people in this country. You and Senator Lee and Senator Cruz and Senator Paul, you're listening to the country. And the people that are tone deaf to what this country is screaming at them are out there, just pushing along the same old thing in spite of, the added costs that it's going to have. And how many people, you're right, SeaWorld is one example. Walgreens is the latest example. 160,000 people are losing their health insurance. That's not keeping your own plan as was originally promised. And it seems that I'm trying to understand their level of tone deafness. Even John McCain is out there, saying the things he's saying.
Yeah, let me say, I believe, I can't speak for Senate Republicans, although I think this is true of almost all House Republicans. I think Republicans are united behind the idea that Obamacare is bad, and given the opportunity to get rid of it, they would. I think the debate in the Republican Party has been about tactics. Is this the right way to do this? And I respect people who think that this may be not the right way to do it. I just don't see any other way at this point, because this thing starts October 1st, and it's already hurting people on a daily basis. I mean, you highlighted those instances. What about the multiple small and mid-sized companies that you're never going to hear about because newspapers don't cover them? What about the jobs that we'll never know about? They'll never be created because of this. Because I can't tell you how many small businesses have told me, not just small businesses, all businesses have told me they're in a holding pattern. They're not going to hire anybody until they figure all this out. They may never hire anybody else because of this. Those are jobs that will never be created, and that is a direct impediment to the ability. It's just unfair that this ever become a country where people, through hard work and sacrifice, can't get ahead. If we become that, we've lost what makes us different. We've lost what makes us special. And as far as the Democrats are concerned, I think they honestly believe, some of them, that once this kicks in, people will be happy with it because it'll improve their lives in so many ways. And so their attitude about it is, well, the attitude of a parent towards a child, take your medicine. We know it tastes bad, but you'll thank us later for it. That's the attitude they've adopted about it. The truth is, that's not the way it's going to work out, and it's already hurting real people. And
people that are worried about this, remember the president said it wouldn't cost more than $900 billion. Well, what people don't realize is the latest numbers have come out, and what it's showing is that the key number to remember here is $621 billion, which is the amount that the nonpartisan actuaries at the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services said Obamacare would increase national health spending over the next 10 years. Now, except with the exceptions of 3 states, every other state, in spite of the president's promise, the average family would save $2,500. You're going to see dramatic increases as high as 170%, like in a state like California. And states like Ohio, 88%. I think in Florida, your state, I think cost of health care premiums are going up 40%.
Yeah, and it's not just rates going up. It's people that have coverage that they're happy with. You know, over 70% of Americans have health insurance. Many of them are happy with, most of them are happy with what they have. Many of them are going to lose that coverage. They're going to get thrown to a new insurance plan, perhaps lose the doctor they've been seeing all these years. Let me tell you another group that's going to be really hurt, and not enough's been talked about this. People on Medicare Advantage. My mom's on Medicare Advantage. It's one of the only choice companies out there, and one of the only choice options available to seniors. They're going to lose benefits because Obamacare took money out of Medicare Advantage, not to strengthen the Medicare program, but to fund Obamacare. So here pretty soon, seniors are going to get a letter in the mail saying, you no longer have coverage for these additional services that you once used to get on your Medicare Advantage plan. I mean, it's bad all the way around. I mean, it hurts every segment of our economy and every segment of our society.
You know what's even more frustrating than all of this is Senator, we've got also exemptions. We've got exemptions for members of Congress and their staffs. We've got exemptions for big business. We've got exemptions here and there. They tried to make a carve-out because big labor became vocal against Obamacare, so they're trying to find a special carve-out exemption for them. I mean, what about the average person, the person that works hard and plays by the rules and pays their taxes and obeys the law? They don't get an exemption here.
Well, that's actually an excellent argument against big government in general, by the way, because one of the things, big government sells itself as the defender of the middle class, the helper of the poor. The problem is with big government is that, if you're a big corporation or if you're a big labor union or you're a wealthy billionaire, you can afford to hire the best lawyers in America to navigate all this stuff. If you really don't like it, you can hire the best lobbyists in Washington to try to change it for you. What about the guy who's trying to start a business out of the spare bedroom of your home? What about the single mom trying to raise two kids, barely making it by? They can't hire a lobbyist or a lawyer to navigate all this. Their voice will never be heard. Big government ignores them. It ends up actually hurting the very people it claims to help. Obamacare is an example of that, but I think this is an example of what's wrong with big government in general.
The next 10 days are going to be very, very key, and it's moments like this where I worry about people kind of their knees start to get wobbly and the political calculations start to spin around in their minds and head, and there's going to be ratcheted up rhetoric. Let me play just the beginnings of this from Nancy Pelosi to Harry Reid to the president himself. And while you're listening to this, tell me what you think the best strategy is for dealing with these predictable attacks.
The votes are there. We will provide a huge number of votes for a clean lifting of the debt limit. It only takes some Republicans to do that. This is playing with fire. Legislative arsonists are at work when they start using the debt limit for their own agenda.
In case there's any shred of doubt in the minds of our House counterparts, I want to be absolutely crystal clear. Any bill that defends Obamacare is dead. It's a waste of time.
If there is a budget package that includes the debt ceiling vote, it's not the debt ceiling that is driving the negotiations. It's stuck into the budget negotiations because if you're going to take a bunch of tough votes anyway, you might as well go ahead and stick that in there. You have never seen in the history of the United States the debt ceiling or the threat of not raising the debt ceiling being used to extort a president or a governing party.
Many of our colleagues have quoted the Gospel of Matthew, when I was hungry, you gave me to eat, and other parts of the Bible. And the Gospel that day was talking about how the prayers that day were talking about how we have a responsibility to each other. And in the sermon, the priest said something that I think we should consider as we consider our vote here today. He said, you just can't come to church and pray and go out and pray on people the rest of the week. This legislation is preying, preying, on people, on children, on veterans, on seniors, on all those who are struggling to do their best.
All right, we get it. Senator Rubio, what do you think? Praying, extortion?
Yeah, two points they made that I want to address. The first is former Speaker, now I guess Minority Leader Pelosi, is claiming that the faith element of it. And this is an evidence of where they get it wrong. That they basically think that is a command of government as opposed to us as individuals or as a society. Absolutely. we as children of God have an obligation to watch out for the least, to look out for the least among us, to help those who cannot help themselves. By the way, that's why conservatives support a safety net, not as a way of life, as a way to help those who cannot help themselves. But to think that somehow all of government needs to be turned over to that mandate while excusing the rest of society is where they get it wrong. That's absolutely where they get it wrong. And then Barack Obama saying, well, I don't know of any other time when a Senate or a Congress has ever extorted a president. There's no extortion here, but I can tell you another time when someone tried to do this. It was back in 2005 or 2006, if I recall correctly, when then Senator Barack Obama tried to stop an increase in the debt limit because he was trying to defund the war in Iraq.
So as this moves forward and the day of reckoning comes, tell us what's going to happen in the Senate. And as the rhetoric gets ratcheted up, what should the strategy be of the Republicans?
Well, I think, first of all, it's going to come over now from the House, and I congratulate them for doing that. And now we're going to have a very vibrant and public debate where the American people are going to clearly understand that we have an opportunity here to do two things: fund the government and keep it operating, but also to defund Obamacare at a minimum to stop it from hurting people during this period of time. We're going to have a real opportunity to do that. And then they're going to have to turn to their senators, Democrats included, and they're going to have to ask them, how can you possibly spend a penny more of our hard-earned money on a program that is hurting so many people? And my hope is that over the next 4 or 5 days, as the public fully understands that this is not a pipe dream, this is real, it is before us, the opportunity is before us to do those two things, I hope that there will be a groundswell of support to accomplish that. Ultimately, because of procedural moves, it sounds like, Harry Reid is going to try to figure out a way to do it with a simple majority vote. So it's going to take even more Democrats to come over on that. But there are plenty of Democrats out there who come from states where Obamacare is not popular, who I think are going to be under a lot of pressure now to explain to their constituents why they want to continue to waste taxpayer money on a program that a growing number of Americans are finding is hurting them and their dreams for their families and for themselves.
Well, I hope the Republicans stand strong because, and I've been a little disappointed in some of the defeatists out there that haven't even been willing to fight, or those that only want to vote for symbolic votes. But now that it actually matters, and there may be political consequences, I don't know. But it's certainly the right thing to do if you call yourself a conservative. Seeing the negative impact on the economy, the CBO saying it's not sustainable, jobs lost because companies don't want to keep people beyond 30 hours. It's not good.
Son, I can only speak for myself on this issue. I can tell you that I ran in 2010, and one of the reasons why I was elected is because I told people I would go to Washington and I would do everything I could to repeal and replace Obamacare, or at a minimum to stop it from hurting people. Now I have a real chance to do that. I have an obligation to do everything we can. Ultimately, it is a republic. You've got to pass votes on both sides, and the president has to sign it. But I think it's important at this moment, at a minimum, for the American people to know where their elected representatives stand. And I think they should turn to their Democratic senators and those that live in states with Democratic senators and ask them, how can you continue to waste our money on a program that's costing us jobs and hours and hurting the dreams we have for ourselves and for our families?
Last question. Will the Senate Republicans stay united?
I sure hope so. As I said, I think we're definitely united on the idea that we need to get rid of Obamacare. I think the division is a tactical division. I think we're always stronger when we're working together. I've never wanted to use this issue as a weapon against other Republicans. I don't doubt any Republican's commitment to get rid of this. I think they disagree with some of the tactics, or maybe think this is not the right way to do it. I hope we can convince them that this actually is perhaps our last best chance to do something meaningful with regards to Obamacare.
Hold the line, Senator. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean.